Welcome to the Open to Hope Show. I'm your host, Dr. Gloria Horsley. My daughter and co-host, Dr. Heidi Horsley, is not here today because she's flying in from the Compassionate Friends board meeting. And I want to remind you that this show is brought to you by the Open to Hope Foundation as well as the Compassionate Friends. We've got a great guest today, Stephanie Champion. It's awesome having you on, Stephanie. You've done a couple of YouTubes with Open to Hope, and they're
Thanks.
great, and hopefully people will go look at those. And also, you did grief in the workplace at the Compassionate Friends National Conference last year. You studied the law.
I studied law in England. I worked in business in offshore shipping in Cyprus. Then when my kids were born, I opened daycares because I couldn't find anywhere that was any good.
You are a woman who sets things up and does things, obviously. And then you sold your daycares and moved to the United States.
Yeah.
And you're going to be a citizen on Friday, right?
I certainly am. I'm very happy to announce that, yes.
That's exciting. So you're just finishing up your master's degree.
Yeah, I'm studying at the Florida Institute of Technology. IO psychology, which is psychology of the workplace.
And which is great. I mean, your background is so awesome. If I needed a psychologist in the workplace, you'd be my woman, because I mean, you've kind of done it all. You studied the law, you run your own businesses, you understand laws. When Andre died, you had 2 other kids.
Yeah.
And so, you know, you've just been through a lot, and you understand a lot of the challenges that people are going to have business-wise, personal-wise, and in the workplace. So what's your take on it? And what do you want people to know about the workplace?
I think the real main thing I want to stress to people, and I tried to say this last year at my workshop, is that I don't want people to go home and hibernate after a loss. I want you to get back into the workplace. Yeah, you're going to meet some problems, but you've already faced difficult times before. I want to see you back in the workplace. It might be voluntary, it might be part-time, it might be community-based, anything, just to stop yourself becoming isolated and losing your self-esteem and your confidence by being at home. If you've never worked, it might be more difficult. If you have worked, it can still be difficult to go back.
Especially, I hear sometimes they don't give people enough time away. Now, when my son was killed, I was working at the University of Rochester Medical Center as a consultant to the surgical service. And my boss was so smart. She had probably didn't go back for 2 weeks. And I had students and I was covering a whole service. She had another nurse who did nothing but follow me around. And sit with me and hang. And, you know, you want to feel competent. That's one of the problems. You really want to go back and
you really
confident.
do.
You really do.
You've lost your confidence as a parent. And the one thing a lot of people identify with is their role at work. So if you strongly identify with the role that you're playing in the workplace, you can't afford mentally, emotionally to lose that.
Yeah. And I think it's important what you just said, mentally and emotionally. I will have to say that you're kind of clinging, hanging on. I had students and everything, and you're really kind of holding on by your fingernails, but you really want to look like you can make it.
You do. You want to look like you can make it. Sometimes you might have a bit of pressure from your own parents, other people who want to see that you're coping, because if you don't hold it together, then who will? So a lot is riding on you, especially if you've got other kids or other responsibilities. And it's not the time to retreat under your desk and stay there, even though I guess it's what we all really want to do at the beginning. But those problems don't go away. And what I've learned, the people I've spoken to, especially at the TCF conference, is that a lot of people end up changing their careers and changing their workplaces. And I'm all for that. I'm all for retraining, but I'm not into rushing for anything. I want people to go back into work, try and assess where they're at, give themselves 6 months, a year, try and assess, think it through. It's the hardest thing in the world to start planning again after you've lost somebody, especially losing a child. But if you can detach yourself from your workplace in a positive way that will help you then build and further skills in the future, you will benefit in the long term, and your family members will benefit.
You know, I think that's an important thing. Now, what are some of the things that I can do at work if I feel like I'm breaking down during a meeting or whatever?
Okay, well, first of all, I would say something that you're not going to go into the meeting blind and then you'll suddenly burst into tears. You will know yourself when certain things, even if it's very, very early days, it's very raw, I think you're just going to have to feel your way and let a close friend at work try and guide you. But as soon as you're able to, you really need to identify what are the big stumbling blocks that you're going to face at work, and try and think ahead a little bit. This sounds really impossible to do, but it's not. You can do it on the back of an envelope. You can say, well, I know January and July are not good months for me. I'm going to cross them out.
Mm-hmm.
Just by taking a little bit back control of your diary, your mental diary, and saying to yourself, well, I'm expecting this time of the year to be a bit rough. That time might be a bit better. Can you schedule anything around that? That's first off. Secondly, you're not going to go into your workplace and not have thought about it. I mean, it could be something as simple as saying, do you have a colleague on a different floor of the building that you can go to their private office?
Mm-hmm.
Do you have a separate restroom that you can go to with your makeup bag?
Restrooms are great.
Seriously. I mean, last year I said to myself,
Yeah.
Stephanie, you've got 5 minutes, girl. And I timed myself. I sat on the floor and cried, and I got up and I went back to my meeting.
And you could put some cold water on your face. Or...
It was on a different floor, so I felt okay. I had a great mentor, a clinical psychologist, very, very experienced. And when it was getting too much, I would just walk into his office and stand there, and we would just chat, if that's the word, for a minute or two, and I would go back out on my day. And then maybe a week or so later, when I saw him, I'd say, hey, thanks for that. He'd say, no problem. So you need to have a little bit of an arsenal. You've got to have some backup here. You can't do this on your own. What are the major stumbling blocks? Do you have any, what I call your allies? Who do you have? Where are they in the building? Where is the private restroom in the building? Where can you go and get a cold drink or a hot drink? Little simple things that you think, that's not going to help me in my mad job, but it will.
Yep. But I think one of the things for me was some of the people that I expected to be there for me weren't. Not everybody can handle grief and loss.
Okay, you know, your closest family and friends will say the wrong thing to us. They will not react appropriately to us. So therefore, we have to have zero expectations that there's people around us at work. But what we can do, we can start to maybe use a bit of psychology on them. Psychology at work, of course. So, for example, with your dead child, we don't wait until the day of the anniversary. That's the first time we mention the child to the colleagues. We'll already have built up, we've already discussed, there's already been photographs. We've kind of drip fed the idea that it's a really big thing for us around these dates.
Mm-hmm. So people are aware and know.
People are aware. I mean, you know, like where I would live, you wouldn't let a child's birthday go uncelebrated. So maybe on that day, I take a box of donuts to the office. You feel you've done something. And another big thing is I would tell people, don't take those days off.
No, I would think, oh yeah, let's take it the whole day off and I can sit and stay in bed all day.
No, because what's going to happen is you're going to walk back into work. The work will have piled up. People will think you'll have had a spa day or a holiday or something else. And you're going to walk in emotionally exhausted. And they're going to think you're coming back in refreshed from your day off.
Mm-hmm.
So you need to sort of plan ahead what's going to work for you. And that does take a bit of trial and error.
I've had a couple of guys tell me this story, how their kid died and the boss said, take off whatever time you need. And then they give him another job, or the same job wasn't available when they got back. And they're angry about it years later.
Yeah, this is because the role that you're playing at work, it can be very central to your identity, specifically for a man who's maybe has invested many years outside the home building up a career. It goes for both sexes, but we're just talking generally here about some examples you have. And this is what one of my first comments was like, you might end up not staying in that job. You might not like your boss's attitude. You might not like the hours. You have changed so fundamentally after you've gone through a loss like this, and you're still changing. That job, which might have fitted you perfectly 5 years earlier, may no longer be the job for you. So don't rush it, and don't feel resentful that they've taken your job away from you. I want people to feel like it's their life, their job, and they have the control. Because as soon as the person feels control back over their environment, they're going to automatically feel a little bit better.
Well, thank you. This is great advice. I love it. And
Thank
tell
you.
me, you're going to be graduating soon, and
Yes.
you are going to be presenting at the Compassionate Friends,
Yeah.
and you're probably going to be doing a website, right?
Website and hopefully a book this summer after the next conference. I
Okay.
got some good feedback last year and I want to build that into the book. So yeah, hopefully grief at work will be the
Well,
thing.
thank you so much for being on. And what I get from you is so much that, you can make a life, build a life. Don't be afraid to change. Don't be afraid to do these different
It's
things.
happening anyway, so we may as well get on board with it.
I love it. It's happening anyway. Well, thank you so much for being on
Thank
the show,
you.
and
Thank
such good advice and information. And congratulations on your citizenship. And I'm looking forward to seeing you at the Compassionate Friends National Conference.
I will be there. I look forward to it. Thank you so much.
Yep. And I want to thank everybody for listening and watching this show today. And hopefully that you'll all come to the Compassionate Friends National Conference. And also, Heidi and I always want to leave you with the message: if you've lost hope, please lean on ours until you find your own, and God bless.
Beautiful. Okay. Thank you.